So I am delighted to introduce Ellen Larson and Emily France from Moonhouse Theatre Company. How are you both doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm okay. We were just talking about how horrible the rain is today, but we're powering through, so that's all good.
Yeah, getting by.
Yeah, how are you, Emily? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm sitting here, cup of tea, doing some
Nice.
knitting actually. So that's
Yes.
fun.
What are you knitting?
Um, it's a bit weird. I guess I could show you, but no one's else is going to be able to see it. It's a fox, and it's like huge.
Oh,
That's amazing. I love
That
it.
is
I love it.
amazing.
nice little cuddly
So
toy.
yeah, to describe it, it's like an orange, fox-coloured
Hmm.
fox that's like 50 centimeters.
I was
but
going to say, for those listening at home, I did not expect the size of that fox. It's really quite big.
Same.
That was really impressive.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from foxes straight onto theatre. I'd love to hear a bit about how your company started and kind of what sort of work you guys make.
Yeah, so I founded the company in December 2017. So I was in my second year of university, and I did study acting at Bath Spa, which I think we all did, didn't we?
We all did.
Indeed.
We all did
Indeed.
And so you guys will know that in your second year at Christmas, you do an actor creator module. So we'd just done this module and I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. I loved being an actor who also had the ability to direct and produce, and just everything about that world I fell in love with. So it kind of seemed like a no-brainer from there to set up a company. And it helped as well that both of the shows I was a part of for actor creator, I saw a really great potential in, and I didn't want to keep them just as little 10-minute uni pieces. I wanted to develop them. So that's exactly what we did. I founded the company and worked with other people from there. And then Emily joined us in, I think, probably November 2019.
Yeah, just before Christmas, the Christmas show. So I jumped on board for that.
And she jumped on board as a producer for that. Although when I say producer, one of our things is like everyone kind of does everything. We're a rep company. So Emily is a trained actor like the rest of us, and a fantastic producer and an amazing director. So she does a bit of everything, as we all do. So it's kind of gone from there, really. It's been a slightly chaotic but wonderful 3 years.
You mentioned how you had you became a rep company. So were you not a rep company before?
No, we kind of, when we started, we had different casts for different shows. And while we were in lockdown, which is one of the great things about having that lockdown as a chance to evaluate where you're at, we really took that opportunity with our cast of the show The Neat Freak. And we had a conversation about what we all wanted to do with the company, with our careers, where we could see this going. And as a group of very kind of multifaceted actors, I guess you could say, everyone had passions they wanted to pursue outside of acting. And it seemed kind of obvious to us that a good way to go would be for all of us to chip in and do everything. And rather than having casts of certain shows, we just became one company. So that was a change we made over lockdown. And it's been amazing. I've learned so much about theatre production and marketing and social media. And Zoe, who's one of our company members, she has as well. She's got like just an incredible eye for social media. Same with Odette. Emily does a whole load of creative producing for us, I would say. I don't know what you'd say, Em, how you would describe your role.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is like that. It's so nice because we do work like in such a collaborative way. Like we all take on different bits and we take it in turns. Like I love making the kind of content for social media, like making the poster kind of things, which is really fun, which I never done before. So that's something brilliant about working in this way, that we're constantly learning new skills that we can use. And yeah,
it was almost a no-brainer because everything we did was so collaborative. Whenever I made a decision, I never solely felt like I was making the decision as the company founder or artistic director. It was always about what the group wanted to do. And so just deciding to say, actually, we are a rep company, that's what we are, nothing changed in a sense other than the label, because we did all of that anyway. So it was nice actually to finally find what we were. So it gave us a little while to find our feet and then say, actually, yeah, this is it. This is what we've got going and we love it.
That's really fantastic. It's nice to hear that it's coming from collaboration and we're hearing all these different roles, and it shows actually within, and we talk about it quite a lot on the show, that it shows that there a role within theatre, and if you're interested in that, you have so many different skills that you might not even kind of expect. So when you're an
Yeah.
actor, you actually you have an interest in marketing and how to put on a show. You're not just there to learn the lines, rehearse the lines, and perform it night after night. It'd be really cool to hear a bit about your first show, Neat Freak, because we're going to hear a little monologue from that later on. So yeah, it'd be really great to hear. So it started out as an actor creator piece, but then how did you develop it then from a 10-minute piece to something longer?
Yeah, started as an actor creator piece with myself and the director Charlie Henderson Howitt. It was her idea, her concept, her project, if you will. She was the director, and I came on board quite early with that because we had a conversation about OCD, and I kind of said to her, "Oh yeah, it's something I'm really interested in. I would love to destigmatize mental health and all that kind of stuff you say to a director when you're interested in working in a show." And she cast me and some amazing other people on our course. And while we were working on the show initially, I was diagnosed with OCD. I went to the doctor finally and said, actually, something's not quite right here. And they said, yeah, you're right. That is an incredibly heightened level of anxiety. And because I'm like the untidiest person you will ever meet, it became quite shocking to me that actually I had OCD and I was suddenly had a really personal connection to the character I was playing. So we became quite passionate about it and it took off from there. So we did the Actor Creator Project, had really great feedback on it. And we took that 10-minute piece and we developed it more as like a one-woman show between myself and Charlie, figuring out where we might go from there, which is when we kind of started to fall into the Greek theatre thing. And then we took the show up to a showcase at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival as part of Femme Fringe, which was brilliant. And we got some amazing feedback on it there. And from there, we recast it and we decided we wanted a fully fledged Greek chorus, which is where our new ensemble came in. And then we R&D'd the show a bit more and we took it to the Buxton Fringe Festival in 2019, where we got a 4-star review from Fringe Guru, which was just amazing. It was such a cool experience. And then we had lots of plans for last year, which obviously didn't happen, but we've postponed them. It's fine. They will happen eventually. So we do have plans to tour the show properly, hopefully go back to Edinburgh with a kind of more our own solidified production, but we R&D it every year. We're always updating it, always changing it. So yeah, it's almost like an ongoing process for Neat Freak. There's always stuff changing each time we perform it, which as an actor is just so exciting and refreshing.
Yes, it's nice. It's great to hear that you're like throughout COVID, how you kind of responded to COVID and it being a show that you expected to go in one direction and it might probably go in a completely different direction because of it. So how has the company kind of changed then in relation to COVID, and is it changed the sort of projects that you're working on now? Has it developed kind of new skills that you're working on, all that sort of thing?
I think quite early on, we realised there was a real demand to move work online. And as scary as that was, that it was a necessity really for companies in this day and age to have that accessibility. And I really think, I don't know what you would say, Em, but I think we've risen to the challenge of the online world.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, I mean, it's been a very weird journey we didn't expect. Like, 2020 started with me contacting loads of venues and sorting out our tour for spring, and we had like a load of them down, and I was doing all the budgeting and all the boring stuff basically, and it was all coming into shape. And then slowly it was like, oh, we're just going to push it back because there's this thing happening, and it kept going. But quite early on we thought, well, we don't want to stop creating, like we definitely don't want this to stop us making things. And I think we've done really well in pushing ourselves to do that. Yeah,
I think something exciting was the different challenge each month could bring. And it got to about over summer and we were like, well, look, we're not going on tour this year. It is what it is. But what can we do instead? How can we use this time productively? And we settled on doing a fundraiser to raise money for the tour. And I can't really remember whose idea it was or how we came about it.
it started, we said like, oh, we should climb a mountain. Like that was our thing. We were like,
of course.
I just really feel like climbing a mountain. And we were just like, I don't think it's going to happen. Like there's COVID happening, but we're like, well, where could we walk? And then who came up with the idea of Bath to Edinburgh?
I'm not sure. We'll have to check and give them fair credit, but someone came up with the idea that we could walk the distance as 6 company members from Bath to Edinburgh. And then we realised that was only about 300 and something miles. So we were like, well, let's walk back again. And so we did this fundraiser of walking Bath to Edinburgh and back again, the equivalent of, I think we worked out the maths that all of us across 5 weeks had to walk at least 3 miles a day, which doesn't sound like much until you actually do it. And so we did that for 5 weeks and we raised over £500. And it was just incredible. Like the whole...
Oh my gosh. We just weren't expecting it, were we?
No,
like,
not at all.
Kicked off, yeah, and it was brilliant. And I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for my mental health at that point in the lockdown, it just felt endless. And honestly, it gave me a purpose to get up in the morning. It was like, right, I've got to go on my walk or my run. Like, I can't let down Moon House. We've got to do this together.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. Yeah.
I think it kind of went from there, the digital stuff. We were like, wow, you can actually still do so much. You can still fundraise, you can still create work. And so pretty shortly after we did that, we settled on we love doing Christmas projects. So we settled on doing like a short film, which I came up with the concept for. I found it online, the idea of these Greek Christmas goblins, and Emily wrote an amazing script for us. And we all filmed it across our different houses, and Emily edited it together, and we made the 12 Days of Goblinmas, which was just so cool. It's just wacky as well, like something we would never have thought to do, but it's so up our street and so our style.
Oh, I mean, like the contrast between it compared to 2019, our Christmas project was the Homeless Guide to a Hand Up, which was amazing, and obviously about homelessness and quite, intense themes. And this was just completely out of the box. And it turned out, I mean, I wrote it, so I'm going to say it's good, but like it turns out
it's really good.
It's incredible. It's the best thing you'll ever see. It turned out like really well. And I'd seen online people making this work. There was something called like the Isolation Diaries, I think, and it was a series and people were filming it and it looked like they were in the same space. And I was like, oh, how could we do that? And in some of the shots, it literally looks like the people, you'd think we'd have travelled and gone to someone's house to film, but we didn't.
Yeah, but we didn't.
Out really, really well. It was really fun.
How do you see the future of the use of digital, the use of the internet evolving? Because you reacted very quickly to it. So what are your thoughts about the future of that for the arts industry?
I feel like in a way, the pandemic has only brought forward something which may have just been an inevitability, in a sense, that sitting in a theatre and watching theatre is actually something which I think and maybe hope is becoming something of the past, because there are so many other ways to access the arts now. And it is becoming something which it should be accessible to everyone and it is important. And I love that we're starting to realise that actually you can film a show in a theatre and stream it online and it still is theatre. It doesn't turn it into anything else. That's still exactly what it is in its essence. And I think in terms of people with disabilities and those with financial constraints, this is a great thing. It's a huge positive to come out of the pandemic, that we have allowed these people who may not have otherwise had an opportunity to experience live theatre a chance to experience it in a new way with everyone else. So I'm actually really excited about it. And I think there are positives to the situation.
I completely agree, to be honest. I completely agree. I think on the accessibility side, it's hugely important, particularly because a lot of theatres tend to be in heritage buildings. So accessibility is actually quite a large issue to make sure that the piece of work can be accessed by everyone. So I completely agree, and this has just sped up what was something that was moving for me, but it was quite slow. And me and Nick were talking a couple of weeks ago about whether it is still theatre or not. And Nick, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think because we talked about, is theatre still theatre when you put it on online, and there's arguments for it and against it, in that does it become something new when you take that form and put it into a new form. But it definitely, from the stuff that I've seen of your guys' work, that it does still have that every element that you have within theatre, even though you're doing it in a different form. So it still has that same engagement factor that you get with theatre, that feeling of liveness and stuff and things like that. It definitely so it definitely still is. But I think what we'll do is we'll pause it there for a little bit. We'll listen to a couple of songs, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a bit more about your latest project of Get Your Greek On.
Woohoo!
So welcome back. We've been chatting with Emily and Ellen from Moonhouse Theatre, and in the first part talked a lot about what Moonhouse's approach is to theatre, how you've reacted throughout COVID, your fundraising efforts. And one of the things I was really interested in when listening to you talk in the first part was your approach to the business side of Moonhouse Theatre, because it sounds to me like you made some key decisions at really good times, and the way that you think about your company is very enterprising. And I'm really pleased also to hear that your structure is something more sociocratic than, say, top down in its management style. So I'm just interested to flesh out how you make decisions as a theatre company in a business sense, and whether you consider yourselves doing business.
Oh, it's such an interesting one, because currently Moonhouse is my full-time job. I get up in the morning and I come sit and I work on it. I'm very privileged to be able to do that, but it's because I'm currently out of work because there's a pandemic on. So that comes from a sense of privilege, doesn't it? But yeah, I think in terms of making business decisions, it will stem from myself and Emily as producers, and then we hand that down to the others. But if there was ever anything I was unsure about, I would always check with the others. In fact, even if I am quite sure on it, I usually tend to check in with the others. And I think you're probably the same, Em. We tend to just always run everything by each other and the other members of the company, because even if you think something's great, you can quite often find that someone's got an even better idea. So I usually check anyway. So I guess in a sense there is a kind of, Emily and I take a slightly more managerial position, I suppose. But in terms of decision making, it's really quite democratic, and we just go with what works best.
Yeah, it's really nice, actually. Yeah, it works well.
That.
And we sort of, like, if you're writing an email or something, like, me and Ellen will generally maybe like send it to each other privately if we're not entirely sure we want to sort of annoy everybody. And someone will pick up like, oh, there's a grammatical error or something.
Yeah, we always joke that Laura, who's one of the company members, is our go-to grammar person. I mean, if I'm ever writing anything important, it goes through Laura, because it's about strengths and weaknesses, I guess, because I have a really good creative eye and visual eye, but sometimes I struggle to follow that through. So if there was something specific I wanted, I would send it to Zoe and say, how would you actually do this? And if it was a term, something grammatical, if that's a word, to do with the language, it usually goes to Laura, because I know that she'll know what's right about it. It's, different things for different people. If I've got a YouTube question, I tend to go to Odette, because that's where her strengths lie. So I think it's about pooling all our skills and using them to our advantage, because everyone has different things which they do really, really well and they excel at.
I think that's a brilliant approach, and we need more of that, to be honest. Does the same approach apply to when you're thinking about creating a new piece of work, because you've got some work coming up? So I was just interested in how that works through the company. What's the process there?
Yeah, so quite often it will stem from one idea. So Get Your Greek On, which is our new project, launching on the 1st of February. It's an online video series. I came up with the idea of doing something a bit podcasty, discussion-y, talking about ancient Greek theatre. And that we then had that conversation in a meeting all of us, where we were like, well, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do it over Zoom, so it's a video rather than a podcast, and everyone contributing their ideas. Maybe we talk about something different each week. So it's that real collaborative element, which does make it quite hard to say who's responsible for the brilliant idea. So I guess we can all take credit, I guess. So it comes from there. So I thought, I'd love to talk about this some more, and everyone contributed from there, and that's kind of how it was born.
And what are the plans for the series moving forward? Because it's not just a single episode, obviously it's a series, so this is like a really exciting launch.
Yeah, so we're going to take it in turns. Each week we're all going to host an episode, so I'm hosting the first one, Emily the second, so on and so forth, and each week we're going to talk about a different topic in relation to ancient Greek theatre, and 2 other members of the company are going to hop on a Zoom call with us, and we're going to do like a little presentation and tell them all about it and learn about it together, because ancient Greek theatre, our kind of Moonhouse Theatre's kind of catchphrase, our target, is performing ancient Greek theatre for modern audiences. So taking that kind of goal and educating people about it. So we've got 6 episodes, all of us are hosting one each. Starting from the 1st of February, they'll be released every Monday up until the 8th of March, I think.
And what's the easiest way for listeners to find out where to go to watch the episodes?
So they will all be launched on YouTube. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to the Moonhouse Theatre YouTube channel. And then we're very active on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook. So if you search Moonhouse Theatre into any of those, you should find us, and you'll find a link to it there.
I was actually looking through your social media earlier, and I saw that you are offering pay what you can education sessions to the local area. I think that's excellent. I mean, how's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's been really nice starting that conversation with education establishments. Again, it was a collaborative idea we had. A lot of us have worked as teachers. That's what Emily does when she's not furloughed. That's what Odette and Laura do. Most of us have experience as teachers, so it felt like a no-brainer. We have a great understanding of the curriculum, what's being taught, especially at university level, because we've all experienced it. So sitting down and taking those workshops we'd all made and pooling them together and offering them, and being able to say to teachers who are in such a horrible position at the moment, this is something tangible we can do to help you. Let us take your drama lesson, let us do it for you for whatever you can afford, because we also happen to know that school drama departments aren't very well funded, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And I think what's really needed at the moment across many sectors is collaboration and giving, coming together, working together to try and improve the situation. I think that's wonderful. I mean, finally, just before we head off and say goodbye, do you have any thoughts for people listening that may be looking to want to get into the industry or are in the industry, having a tough time at the moment?
Oh, go on, Emily. What would you say?
Oh, don't stop. That's mine. Don't stop. Like it is tough, and let yourself have those days when you get up and you're like, I mean, some days with our meetings and things I just won't be able to do it, like, and it's tough, and we're really kind to each other and to ourselves and say, look, it's okay, you don't have to, like, we've got it. And I guess it's a great thing about working collaboratively, like we look after each other in our work. And but I think just keep creating and keep trying things out. Like the goblin myths, we did not know that was going to go well. Weirdest thing ever, and it was really successful. So just keep trying things out and don't be afraid to do that, I suppose.
Yeah, coming off that, I think something I found so helpful is that you can always be starting over, and that what is so great about this weird time stop moment is that anything you produce in this time is a bonus, because we didn't know we were going to have this opportunity. So if you're making nothing, you are no worse off than you would have been anyway.
Absolutely.
So if you get halfway through a day and you're unmotivated, just start again, and just every day is a new chance. And it is what it is. We're all getting by. You can only do what you can do. So
Absolutely.
make the best of it.
I've really enjoyed how kind you are to each other and to yourselves, and I think that's so important moving forward at the moment, particularly taking space when you're overwhelmed and taking that break, and also keeping active, but so resting, but also at the same time each day asking, how can I be creative? I think that's really important. Well, thank you very much, Ellen and Emily from Moonhouse Theatre. We will be uploading this to our social media. We'll be putting it on the arts page. So if you do want to catch up with this interview, then we'll give you the links after some music.